Hey everybody, Omar here, the Knife Shark Guy, and I am back with another Kershaw discontinued piece. And today we're going to be taking a look at not one, but two Kershaw discontinued blades. Now, both these knives that I'm going to show you right now, they've been around for a while. They are discontinued collectibles, so you're not going to be able to find them, in any stores anymore. These are two very rare Kershaw collectibles, and they are the Kershaw Green Titanium Bump and the Kershaw Blue Titanium Bump. And you're going to say to yourself, well, why is Omar buying the same knife but just in a different color? Reason being is that they are not the same knife. Now, before I begin, I do want to apologize for the inadequate lighting and the horrible shadows in my video. I am currently working on it. Hopefully I'll have some kind of a solution for that. I also welcome any suggestions regarding the problem with the horrible lighting. I'm even thinking about maybe shooting some of these videos during the daytime if I can. However, work hours don't permit it. But in any case, let's go on. This is the Kershaw box that the knives come in. Oop. Looks like this. See how big the boxes were back in those days? This is the original silver box with the American flag on it. This is the box for the Kershaw Green Titanium Bump. Okay? And, of course, the knife came not only with the knife, but it also came with these pouches. As you can see, it's got a nice Kershaw pouch there. They both did. No need to take out the other one. It's the same thing. The steel on this blade, while I'm closing up the box here, the steel on the blade is S30V, which is a steel that Kershaw is very rarely pumping out anymore. I can't even think of a knife right now that has S30V on it. That is a Kershaw knife. But in any case, these two were very limited edition knives. And here's what's interesting about these knives. The Green Titanium Bump, they produced 1,500 of these. 1,500. This is serial number 243 out of 1,500. Okay? And the Blue Titanium Bump, they produced 2,000 of these. This is serial number 525 out of 2,000. So, that being said, it's weird. The reason I say it's weird is because they made more of the blue knife, and that's more rare than finding the green. You can find the green much more quickly than the blue. The blue, for some reason, is quite rare to find, and it is even more rare, for whatever reason, to find the blue knife in a box. So if you're a collector, that might concern you. It concerned me for a real long time, which is why I never picked up the knife. I always wanted all my discontinued knives to be in a box. And as you can see, I got the original box. I was lucky to have found that. So, in any case, let's go over very quickly the stats for this knife. The overall length of these blades are 8.25. The blade length is 3.5 inches. Blade thickness is 0.13 inches. That's the thickness. The blade material is S30V. The finish on both these knives are satin finish on both of them. You can take a good look at that. There you have it. Handle length is 4.5 inches. Handle thickness is 0.50. Color on this one is blue and gold. The color on this is green and gold. Now, they're both spring-assisted knives, and they are both exclusively a Ken Onion design. Now, as you guys know, Ken Onion was the premier knife maker for Kershaw until he left in 2010 to go join CRKT. when he finally decided to go and join them when his contract ended with Kershaw. So let's talk about these knives. Are these knives the same knife, but just a different color, or not? And the answer to your question is no, they are not exactly the same knife. There's a reason why they released these two knives. I'm going to show you the reason right now. Let's take a look. Take a look at the scales on these babies. Look at this. The scales on the green knife are twice the thickness of the scale on the blue knife. So that when you hold these knives in your hand, you get a different feel. When you are holding this knife, you have more of a fill in your hand when you're gripping it, versus the blue knife, which has less of a fill, but yet just as comfortable. So both knives are really very, very different knives, even though you think they're the same. Similarities, however, is in the design. If you take a good close look at the knife, both these knives, I'll pull and hold them up to you, up at the light here. They have these ridges in them. Ridges on the knife. Now, here's the weird thing. The fact that this knife and the other knife, the blue one, have ridges on it, excuse me, it's more of a custom feature, isn't it? I mean, which kind of makes me kind of curious. How the hell did they put ridges in this thing? I mean, it's hard enough to put the lines going perpendicular, but then to put them horizontally, embedded into the knife, going horizontally, and then, I mean, that's almost custom. Just that design, it really feels fantastic in your hand. The fact that the ridges actually help with the grip in your hand, it sort of takes the place of maybe G10, but I've never seen that on a production knife. I mean, imagine if there's actually a machine that did that. I mean, you can pretty much guarantee that this thing was not done by hand. I can't imagine anyone or even a group of people doing this by hand. I mean, those ridges are really noticeable, and they're really very helpful to have with your grip. Another difference between these knives, if I can hold it up to the light, is the swedge on the knives. They're completely different. Here we have a swedge that goes all the way from the end. I'm going to try and hold it up to the light here. My lighting is horrible. And it goes all the way up to halfway on the knife, right about there. There you go. You can see that. So it goes about halfway up the blade, or a little bit more than halfway up the blade. So from here all the way up halfway to the blade. Gives the knife a little bit different look. But check this out. On the blue one, it doesn't go halfway. It goes all the way to the end of the blade, almost up to the thumb stud. See that? So the blade design, very little, just that slight little detail makes the knife different. So it's quite obvious that when they made these two knives, they intentionally made both these knives completely different. So people knew that when they were buying these knives, they were getting a completely different knife. I'm going to hold them back up again so you can see just how different. I mean, take a look at this. I mean, again, take a look at the scales on that. I don't know if you guys can see that in the light. There you go. See how much thinner the blue one is to the green? I mean, that really does give you a different feel. So if you're a Kershaw collector like me, and you've already got the green, and you're saying to yourself, well, I already have the green one, what the hell do I need the blue one for? If you're a collector like me, believe me, you need the blue one. It is a different knife. The steel isn't the same. I mean, the steels are the same, but everything about the knife, the look, the feel, whatever, it's all very different. What's interesting about the blue is that if you hold it a certain angle, it turns almost purplish because of the gold in there hitting the light. I noticed that when I looked at the knife, was that sometimes you hold it at a certain angle, it turns from blue to almost purple, which I think is kind of interesting. I mean, those little details as a knife collector will make you go nuts for wanting something like these knives. Just those little differences. I mean, that's basically why you have these, why you own these knives. You own them. If you're a collector, more than likely you own them not to necessarily use, but just to have in a collection, to admire, and to remember the work that Kershaw once did versus the work that Kershaw did now. And that's why I decided to collect the Kershaw discontinued blades, because I wanted to see where Kershaw was, where they are now, and where they're going in the future. Because don't forget, knives are a trend. They will change from time to time based on people's tastes. I felt that getting the knives at this particular point in time, the late 1990s to early 2000, was sort of the beginning of the knife hobbyists, and Kershaw coming up and doing things to knives and trying to set trends in their knife making to build sort of interest in it. And you just don't see work like this on Kershaw knives anymore. I mean, they're still doing fantastic work today, but I mean, this is titanium, guys. This is a titanium knife. This is not a zero tolerance knife. This is a Kershaw knife. This is before the days of 2012 when Kershaw decided to build a completely different company for their high-end knives. And this is before that time. That's why I love these knives, because this is before zero tolerance. When Kershaw was still sort of experimenting, they were still learning what appeals to the American public. And even by 2012, I mean, Kershaw had been around for years and years and years. But I don't believe that knives were considered an art form until the early 2000s and maybe late early 2000s, at least in the public knife buying public interest. I don't think it was seen that way. This is the beginning of that, in my opinion. Again, everything I say here is just opinion. But again, I've never seen knives of this quality in a Kershaw knife. And these knives back in the day, I believe these knives went for right around maybe $109. I think that's the price of these knives at that time. And to find knives of this quality at such a reasonable price, I mean, that is really very well detailed with the gold and the ridges and the steel. Are you kidding me? S30V at the time was considered king steel. Now it's pretty much the standard. I just think it's fantastic. Fantastic work. I'm still a fan of Kershaw. I don't buy very many of their knives anymore, but there are a few that I do admire still. But pretty much as a collector, I wanted to see Kershaw. High-end works like this is just really, it's very rare. It's just very rare. So there you have it, the Kershaw 1590 blue and green bump. If you guys are collectors, pick yourself up not one of these, but both of them, because they are completely different knives. Completely different. Again, the blue is quite difficult to find in a box. On Blade forums and on eBay, both these knives, you can find them anywhere between the price range of $250 at the very lowest to, I've seen it go as high as, $500 at times. A word about, I'm going to be doing another video on pricing of these collectible pieces. I think that's kind of an important thing to discuss. But in any case, for now, this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, signing off. And I am really hoping that you guys are going to find not one, but both of these, in your collection. So there you go. Kershaw green bump, Kershaw blue bump. Get them both if you can. If you can find them, get them both. The joy of having a collection like this, really, honestly, is the hunt. So this is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy, signing off. Again, I apologize if the shadows are horrible. I'm going to work on that. Maybe start doing some videos during the daytime. So thank you so much. And God bless you. Have a good day.